If you've ever been left at the end of a sales call and you get an objection or a concern, you just don't know what to do, then this video is for you. This is part 1 of an 8-part series where I went in depth over 8 weeks with a bunch of people on how to handle objections. Time, money, think about it, partner, everything, pre-handling, you name it, objection cycling, everything that you could possibly think of. And it's extremely in-depth with real-life role plays, examples, all different industries. So enjoy part 1 of the 8-part series, totally free course on how to handle objections. So what we're going to be talking about today is like objections overall, right? I'm going to break down kind of where they come from, what they are, but the baseline hierarchy of importance of how you should be thinking about objections. And then some of the basic do's and don'ts. So my point of today is to sort of cover as much as humanly possible. And then from there, just give you guys an opportunity to walk away from this session knowing kind of how the overarching structure works. And then from there, have some good takeaways, and also go over from a personality standpoint, how you can figure out, how you can figure out what you should be doing and how you should be handling certain things, because your personality and whether you're really forthright or whether you're more leaned out will play a large role in how you attack sales. Okay, so the easiest way to so objections are just concerns, right? And they are completely reasonable and valid. And one of the largest problems that I see within sales people is that they will default to objections that are sort of outside of their control. So a lot of them will go to fear-based objections, and they'll go to all these kind of like weird things, right? And in reality, it's sort of just like coping mechanisms for people who just couldn't sort of overcome objections. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like that person had a bad mindset. Oh, that person had bad fear. They're a bad lead. All right. So the first thing you must realize when it comes to getting good at objections is there is nothing that you can say or do that will make somebody do something. You cannot make them buy. You don't have that kind of power and authority over them. And so like what that does is you like, that's what detaching from the sale is. It's not that like you don't need the commissions, it's that you cannot make them buy, right? And as soon as you kind of realize that, then you stop getting frustrated with people. Frustration is the main reason why people can't overcome objections, because they don't know quite how to articulate themselves. They think that they know what's best for the person. Okay. And then from there, you think that like through some sort of verbal wizardry, you can make someone do something. That's just not the case. Okay. So we'll break that down into a couple of things. First of all, like, you don't know what's best for them. I guarantee you just don't know. You might have an inkling and you might have a passionate thought, but you don't know. And you have to release yourself of that. Otherwise, handling objections consistently is very difficult, because there's always an element of venom behind what you say, and there's an intent behind what you say. Whereas if all you're doing is curiously going through and asking questions, okay, then it's quite difficult for you to sound, right? It's quite difficult for you to sound frustrated. It's like, oh, okay, well, like, help me understand that, such and such. And so you don't end up in this like combative environment. And you can get away with asking a lot of quite pointy questions, but because the intent is not designed for you to go, I know it's best, I need to get you over here, okay? Like, that doesn't go well with people. You're looking at people's life through a 45-minute keyhole, and you have very little context over what's going on. And so the thought that you know what's best for them after such a short period of time is a very egotistical way of looking at the world. Okay? And so once you let that go, you start to sort of like loosen up a little bit, and you start to connect better with the prospect. And also, you stop putting an expectation on yourself that like you have to close every deal, because the outcome is very much out of your control. What you're looking to do in sales and objection handling is become consistent. Okay? I've used this analogy a lot, but if I'm shooting a gun, right? Because I used to be a sniper, right? If I'm shooting a gun and a random gust of wind comes and moves the bullet off course, I didn't do anything wrong. So I have no adjustments to make. So if I then make an adjustment off that and the gust goes away because it was random, I'm going to miss. Now I've done something to miss. And that's a lot of the time the kind of feedback loops that people get into. And so they don't know how, they just need to do a thing consistently. Your whole job is to minimize variables. Okay? So the way that I teach objections is to sort of ignore a little bit of what the prospect says, right? And follow a process. Now, you're going to listen to them, but a lot of the time you're listening to way too much of what they're saying because they're giving you 10 different things at once and you're trying to handle all of them at once and you can't really do it that way effectively. And so what we want to do is we want to like let that ego go. Just understand that like you don't know what's best for them and that you can't wizard them into doing stuff, right? What you can do is learn a process that creates consistent and predictable answers from your prospect, and then learn how to probe on the answers that give you the best chance of being able to get them to convince themselves to do something. Okay? And if you make 10 sales in a row, you are the same sales rep as if you then make 10 no sales in a row. Congratulations, you closed at 50%. Okay? If you're a 30% closer, which would be good, okay, 7 out of 10 say no. So those no's shouldn't affect us, and you shouldn't be frustrated at the people who say no. Sometimes they just don't have the money. And a lot of the time, when someone has like a fear-based objection, it's just a lack of value proposition, okay? All right, cool. So first things first, hierarchy of objections. There are many different types. Money logistical is always the hierarchy. That is the most important objection because it is the objection 90% of the time. Okay? So like if they want to go away and think about it, what do they want to go away and think about? Anyone want to type in the chat? All right? They want to think about spending the money. If they want to go and talk to their partner, what do they want to talk to their partner about? Spending the money. Okay? Okay? So if it's a timing thing, it's going to be around, do I have the money right now? Okay, so it always comes down to money. That's the most common objection, and it's the one that I think people spend the least amount of time on. Okay, and so the first principle is that we want to like just remove the objection. Okay, so money aside, right? Do you feel like this would be the answer? Okay, so money aside. Now, when it comes to objections, when it comes to sales in general, people use a lot of extra filler words. I want you guys to really practice over this next 8 weeks of using as minimal words as possible. Every single word is an opportunity for you to fuck up the intention of your word. Okay, so if I add in random words, right, it adds a layer of complexity to that sentence of which the interpretation of the meaning can be muddled. If I say money aside, do you feel like this would be the answer? It's a very clear and easy question to answer. If I say, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that money right now might be an issue. So if we were to, I guess, remove that, right, and money was not the issue, do you feel like what we're doing would be the best for you? It's like, it's fucking word salad, okay? And like it's just all it does is like it leaves tons of variables open for interpretation and people can take the meaning that they want. Okay, if I say, why is that important to you now though? And if I say, why is that important to you now though? And if I go, why is that important to you now though? Okay, first one, neutral, you pick the meaning. Second one, tangible, that you will say. Last one, you will answer in terms of time frame. Okay, like you just will about 90% of the time. Okay, and so the slight inflection, pacing, and pausing and tonality shifts that we do within a sentence will have a large impact on how that person derives the actual answer. Okay, all right, but we want softeners, Matt, maybe, possibly, likely, etc. Well, maybe, that's the answer. Okay, so if you guys have never been involved in coaching before, I am not a big fan of definitives. Okay, so I'm going to answer this question because it's a good question. Softeners, okay, like possibly, so neutral words. Neutral words are only good if you're neutral words are best if you're a forthright person. Okay, If you are someone who is leaned out and very like passive as a person, okay, and maybe soft spoken, you will sound like you don't know what you're talking about. Forthright means, okay, I'll give you an example. Raise your hand or put a me in the chat and be honest. Yeah, and because there's not a good or a bad here, okay? There's no good or bad. Put a me in the chat if you will tell someone to get out of a line if they cut. Right? Right? Me. And again, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. Okay? If you would, then you're probably more forthright. You're probably someone who is more pushy in general. Okay? So neutral language is likely to be good for you. Put a 1 in the chat if you're someone who would never do that. Now, again, that's not a bad thing because if everyone was like that, it'd be horrible. Okay? So if you're like that, then chances are neutral language will make you sound like a pussy. Okay? Which means that like when it comes down to like pitching, you sort of might not sound like you know what you're talking about and you don't have the confidence and conviction. Okay? And so there's a slider there. You know, generally speaking, more definitive terms towards the end is probably better, right? Like being much more confident and forthright towards the end. Okay. But if you're putting in, you don't need to put in like qualifiers like that, you know, maybe possibly might be when you're in objection handling, because like the whole point of those things is to like, hey, I'm not a sales rep, right? Like it's like, I'm not a sales rep. Okay. You've pitched, you've asked for money, right? So like that's gone. And now we're in a very tactical sort of part of it where we need to get them to convince themselves. And so we have to go through a very, very precise series of questions. Okay. So you remove the objection, money aside, do you feel like this could be the answer? Okay. The reason why we do that is because we want them to go back through. We want to start a process of reestablishing value. Okay. All right. So the reestablishing of the value is one of the key components to all objection handling, because you need that person to start thinking in terms of like, what are the things that I need, whether it's software, whether it's like coaching, whether it's, widgets. Okay. What is it about what I've presented that we're going to talk about the benefits of that, but you're going to tell me which elements are most important to you and you're going to tell me why. Okay. Because if we don't do it that way, then we're going to end up having a lot of quite odd conversations. I will actually roll back real quick though. Okay. Now, a lot of this stuff is if you guys sell things that have financing or payment plans, okay, if you pitch and say, and there's payment plans available, there's financing available, there's flexible payment terms available, if you say that when you pitch, it will be very difficult for you to overcome objection. It's very difficult because if I say to you, if I go Mark Daniel D, okay, if I go, so like unmute yourself, right? If I go, like, if you just pitch me and go, hey man, like there's payment plans available, how do you want to proceed?
Yeah, payment plans. Obviously.
Yeah, so like, yeah, so what you're gonna do is every time that person's gonna go, what payment plans do you have?
Yeah.
Okay, or they're gonna go, hey, like what's the financing? And then what you're doing is having a logistical inane conversation about something that we have not established they actually want. Does that make sense, everybody? So when you pitch, you pitch like your full price. Okay. You also need to pitch the full price if you're selling something like coaching or whatever, or something that has already like software that has like a paid in full discount. Okay. So it's like, hey, there's like annual pricing, whatever. Pitch the most expensive version in the total number. Okay. So like if it's a 3-pay and it's the 3-pay is 10 grand, but the 2-pay, but the 1-pay is 8, don't pitch it at 8 grand. Okay. And then go, hey, you know how you don't have money? Well, I'm going to charge you more because you don't have enough. Okay. There needs to be a paid in full incentive. Okay. Not a payment plan, interest. Okay. If you guys got questions on that, let me know. I can do like a separate video on it, but you want to make sure that you do the most important one. Is it like a marinade type thing? price at the top. So the way that I would do it in order to give yourself the best chance, okay, is if whatever payment structures you have, the most expensive version, okay, like so if it's 3 pay, 5 pay, whatever, you say the most expensive number, right? As a one-off. You just go, hey, it's $10,000. How, like, you know, yada 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 yada. How how do you want to proceed? Okay. Then from there, you would go through because you want to establish that value. Then from there, if they give you a price of like a money objection, you can go, okay, money aside, you feel this is the answer. Why is that? Yada yada yada. And then you can start to drop. Okay. But if you don't establish the initial value first, okay, if your price is 150K presented monthly, delivers well, absolutely it does. That's fine. And if that's how you want to sell it, then that's good to go. Okay. So it just depends on, like, there's obviously nuances to everything. But if you're saying things like you want to try and avoid you want to try and present things in a way where the most predictable outcome is either planned for or something that is easier to work with. Because if you say, you know, there's payment plans available, if you present it as a monthly payment, hey, it's $120,000 divided over 12 months. How do you want to proceed? Because that's how it's done. That's totally fine. You know what I mean? But as long as you have ways to move things down, it makes it a lot easier, right? Because you can go, hey, is it the upfront amount? Or if I broke that up, would that help you out? Oh, it would. Also, if you don't present paid in fulls, you're never going to get them, or you have to massively incentivize them. So you can play around with it a bit, but you want to avoid inducing objections early that mask the actual concern, which is like, hey, you know, like, so what are the finance terms available? Oh, okay, cool. All right, well, I'm going to go away and have a look at that, just do my calculations, you know. And then it's like, now you've spent 5 minutes dealing with bullshit. Okay. All right. So, okay. So we'll go like, so money aside, do you feel like this could be the answer? Yes. Okay. Why is that? Now, one of the important things there, okay, that you guys want to note is that they are going to say yes almost every time. If they say no, you've done something drastically wrong in the sale, right? So like we're way off base, okay? So they say yes. Now you might hear them start to trail off. You guys know when someone has a but coming? Yeah, you know what I mean? Interrupt them immediately. The moment you hear the yes, you interrupt them, okay? Why is that? Now, this is a practice thing and it sounds easy, but it's actually not easy to do, okay? It's a very, very important skill set, especially in objection handling, right? Oh, like, why is that? Okay, so you interrupt them, right? Sorry, the sun is gonna kill everyone. All right. So, okay, because the way that humans work is that they haven't finished that thought yet. Okay? Like they truly haven't, I promise you. You think and speak in real time. Okay? Unless you're like Jordan Peterson, who seems to form his complete sentences and then talk. Okay? So you do that. So you cut it off because there's a but coming, but they haven't got to it yet. Okay? So you cut that off. Now, don't always do that. Sometimes if you can tell the but's going to be positive, okay, then like let them ride with it, okay. But generally speaking, in objection handling, especially at that time, you go, why is that? Right? Then what they have to do mentally is they have to go back up and they have to go, well, I guess this, right? And then you go, what is it specifically though that you feel like is kind of the like key to the castle for you? Okay. So then ask them a question where they have to dive into their memory and think about, what do I find most valuable? Okay. What is it about this thing? Okay. And then from there, because they're reestablishing value, then from there you go, okay, like why that thing? So again, establish, get deeper. When somebody has an idea that's really good for the outcome that you want to probe and ask questions about it because it strengthens the idea. Okay? That's just how human beings work. If you've ever seen a debate, no one changes their mind. Okay? So if you can't change someone's mind, right? Because it's very difficult to do so, you have to get them to take themselves through a process where they are the ones convincing themselves, and they do that by having an idea and then you strengthening it through pushing back on them a little bit and through probing them. Okay? Make sense, everyone? Okay, so once you've gone through that step, okay, then we go okay, so what are some ways that we can come up with the funds to where you can get, and then you say the exact thing that they just said they need in order to get the outcome that they want? Whether it's a feature in the software, whether it's a feature in the program, whether it's accountability, whatever it may be. Okay. You get them to go, okay, so what are some ways that we can come up with the funds to where you can actually get that? Okay. Now, if you hear that tone, it's nice and light. Okay. What I'm not doing is going, okay, so how do you get that? Okay, it's like it's too much. Okay, you're not trying to like induce a massive amount of emotion here. What you're trying to do is get them to happily continue the conversation and just take them down the line. Okay, you can get to emotional stuff later, but at the moment it's just not required, right? This is a normal part of your day. You're not surprised or concerned by it because it is totally unreasonable that they would have a concern about spending money given the fact that most sales cycles are fairly short, right? This is a legitimate and normal and reasonable thing. Okay, it doesn't mean it's like the way that it has to be, but you guys get what I'm saying. Okay, then from there, so once we ask that question, so what are some ways we come up with the funds? We're now on the same side of the table. Okay, the best thing that you can do is be on the same side of the table. Okay, it's two people trying to solve a problem because we've gone through, had a call, established the needs, the wants, all that kind of stuff, done our presentation, said, hey, this is how we solve your problems. This is the investment required. This is the funds required to solve your problems. Okay, you have a concern. Okay, but if the concern wasn't there, do you feel like this would be the answer? Yes. Why is that? Okay, perfect. What is it specifically? This? Okay, why that? Oh, that makes sense. Hey, what are some ways that you think that we can come up with the funds to where we can actually get that? So you can. And it's like, oh, and then you start thinking and talking. Hey, do you mind if I make a suggestion? Yeah, sweet. Well, what a lot of our clients do, yada, 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 is they do something like this. Like, would that work? No, okay, cool. Okay, is it the upfront amount? Or if I broke that up for you, like, would that make it easier? Oh, you can do that? So see how it's like easier to roll a bowl down a hill, right? Then push it up. So if I start at the payment plan and I'm never pushing it up to a PIF, right? But if I start at the PIF and I establish the value, okay, then I can go, okay, well, if I broke it up, like, would that help you out? Now, the reason why I like to start off with the most expensive version is it sounds like it's harder to go like, well, it's 150K if you pay, for 12 months. It's like, yes, it sounds like it's harder, but that's the overall value anyway. So like, I'd rather have someone agree and establish the value to the entirety of the program, right? There's a sales call with Cardone where he hops on and he says like, oh, I guess it's only $2,500 a month. And he said, no, you're not making a $2,500 decision. You're making a $30,000 decision. Big boy decisions, big boy results, right? And I was like, that's a really good way of looking at it because it's like, I want them to be bought in on the entirety of it, not just like the fact that they can break it up, right? That's where financing breaks reps. Like, like where you can break it up over 3 years or 2 years or whatever, like that financing element, it breaks them because people start to sell based off not the value and like the actual sales call, but they based off like the fact that it's like ridiculously affordable and so like a no-brainer. That's not selling, that's being a checkout chick. Okay. So like, because if we can then break it down and go, oh, okay, like if I could break it up for you, like would that help? Now the issue is if I then have to go, well, if I break it up for you, it's now 20% more expensive. So you, the broker that doesn't have the money, yeah, it's more expensive for you, broker. Okay. So like that doesn't seem like the best framing for me. I never liked that. So I always just went with the most expensive version, right? Then from there allowed me to drop to a payment plan. And that payment plan was the same cost, right? That they already knew about. So I never got the objection, well, I'm just going to wait till I can pay in full. Right? Because that's a really annoying objection. Because my process from there is then to get them to do the payment plan and then say, oh, I get the first payment or the, whatever it is. Then I'll offer them the paid in full incentive after I get the first payment. Right? Oh, hey, did I mention that you actually get a bit of a discount for paying in full? No? Ah, shit. Sorry, man. Yeah. So you paid this much, but if you want to pay the rest off, it's only this much more. Do you want to do that? And then I just sit there until they do it, or they don't. Either way, it's fine.
Thank you.
All right. So this is all scripted as well, so you guys don't have to worry. This is all all scripted out for you guys. Like it's totally fine. Okay. So, but what I want to do is kind of go over and be able to kind of show the process. Okay. And that's like, and then that's just like one objection. Then you come up with it and you go, okay, cool. So you establish it and you go, okay, so if we broke it up for you, like, would that help? Yes. Okay. Do you want to go through that? I always ask that little bit of extra. They go, if I broke it up for you, would that help? Yes. And do you want to go through that? Yes. Okay. Hey, it's totally normal. I normalize it. Hey, it's totally normal. A lot of people that are coming to us for XYZ, the paying that in full is just like not an option for most people. So it's totally fine. So what we generally do for people is this. And then I offer a 2-pay. And then I will listen. If they're like silent, I can go, and we can do some other ones if you want. You know what I mean? I can do a 3, whatever, okay? Like drop, but I don't want to go to like a 27-pay straight away. Okay. I want to kind of drop down nice and controlled. If I get to the chance where I've offered 2 or 3 options and they're like, I'm like, hey man, I can't hit a target that I can't see. Like, where are we at? Is this way out of the realms of possibility? Or like we need to, just if you just help me out, then I can help you out. Because at that point, we can drop the veil and we can have a normal conversation with somebody. They need it, they want to figure out a way to pay for it. They understand the value, right? And now it's like, we just have to figure this out. Nick, you got a question?
Yeah, real quick. Do you ask for their cash on hand before going to?
No, before, no. This is a real dangerous game. I need to establish that they are
Right.
really bought in.
Like after that, I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll be like, okay, cool. So can you help me out with what cash you have on hand and what you think that you can put towards this? I don't want you to not to be able to eat. That's ridiculous. So like, what do you actually have? And then like, what do you have coming up? And then maybe we can figure this out. Right? You just want to have a really genuine, open, and normal conversation and normalize it and be as normal as possible. It is a very unpleasant thing for everybody to have to talk about not having enough money to do something. Okay. And so you don't want to make anyone feel bad about that. So you want to normalize it and just be really cool and go, oh, dude, it's totally normal. Like, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? It's an important part because a lot of the time, like, people take these posturing frames, right? And it's just such a load of bullshit. Whereas like you have to sort of play the ball that you're given, And so if someone needs to be smacked down a little bit, you can smack it down. If someone needs to be built up a little, you need to build them up. But if someone needs like empathy and they need you to like be understanding, you can't make someone feel bad. If your goal is to like win the argument, you're not gonna make a lot of sales. You like, even if you're right, it just doesn't matter. Right? It just has no bearing on the conversation. Right? That's a real young man's thing, right? And I need to be right. Look at this guy's mindset. He's a fucking idiot. Okay? It's like, no. Like, everyone has, where there's a lot of decisions that's going behind everybody to be in the place and where they're in, and you just don't know. Like, if you have shitty parents that like hate people with money, you will like spend a very long time destroying any opportunities to make money. Right? It's just kind of the way that it is. Like and so, just be empathetic with people and just be real with people. Okay. And then from there, okay. So yeah, Brody.
Walk me through that one last part. So after, if we broke it up with that help, do you want to go through that? Yeah, perfect. Normalize it. That next part there.
Yeah.
Are you offering your preferred pricing structure, or are you framing it as though, okay, in terms of breaking it up for you, is there a preferred way that makes the most sense that you can get the help you need? Are you giving them the honest or taking it?
No, I'm gonna take that because I wanna drop it quite precisely. I'm gonna offer like a 2, a 3. I'm gonna drop. I'm also gonna get a bit of a gauge as to like how they react. So if I offer a 2-pay and they go, I'm gonna go, what about a 4? Do you know what I mean? So like I'm gonna kind of play the field a little bit there. But if I go a 2-pay and they go, oh yeah, like that could work. And I'm like, are you sure? So I'll push back a little bit. Are you sure? And they go, yeah. And you go, okay. Like, how do you want to proceed? Right? And then I just reestablish it. Okay, so 2 payments of XYZ would work within your current budget. Yes, it would. How do you want to proceed? Now, but Mark, before I get to you, the difficulty is during that exchange, they are going to give you other objections. Partner, think about it. Timing. You ignore all of them. That it is a difficult thing to do, and I know it's a little bit antithetical for most people. You literally ignore them, okay? Like, you keep going down, your pathway, right, Colin? I wasn't expecting that. Yes, you ignore what they're. The reason being is because from the thousands of core reviews I've done on objection handling, most people will get sidetracked halfway through and never resolve any of them, right? So just once, like objection handling is far more dictatorial than the rest of the call. So like I would just straight up ignore things that I don't want to talk about in objection handling. Just ignore it completely. I will, like, it didn't exist, didn't happen. Right? So if they're like, if I'm dealing with money and they start going, oh yeah, I'm like, okay, so money aside, of this be the answer? Yes, it would. Why is that? Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so what are some ways we can come up with the funds? But yeah, I could probably come up with it. I just need to go away and check with the partner. I'd be like, okay, so like, I would just go back through and I would completely ignore the fact that they said partner. In my head, I've noted it because I know that that's going to be their next objection. Okay, but I'm just going to keep ramming them down because at the end of it, I want, so this payment plan, this payment structure would work within your current budget? Yes. Okay, I'm not asking them to do it. I'm saying it would work. Okay, and they might go like, well, I'd have to check with the finances. Okay, well, based off what you know right now, though, like ballpark figures. Obviously, you can go and dot the I's and cross the T's later, but based off what you know, do you feel like this could work? They're like, yeah, I'd have to just check things. Go, okay, well, do you know how much money you make? Yep. All right. Well, do you know how much money you have? Yep. Well, do you think it'll work? Right. I'm just going to keep asking that question in different ways until they go, oh, yeah, I suppose it'll work. Okay. What do you want to do from here? Right. Because now it's the next objection. Yeah, I just have to go away and speak to my partner. Okay. When you go to your partner, like, what do you need to talk about? Does that make sense? Like, I'm just fucking ramming them down because I have to resolve that line. And even if they give me other objections, I'm going to do money first anyway, right? Because money is like my backstop. Okay. So if they go, yeah, hey Matt, this sounds really good. What I really need to do is just kind of go away, speak to my accountant, my partner, just kind of make sure that, like, my chakras are aligned, and just make sure the finances and all that kind of stuff lined up. So what do I do from here? Like, get back in 2 weeks, send me an email and stuff. I'll be like, yeah, money aside though. Do you feel like this is the answer? I ignore everything and just go money aside. Right? The reason being is because it's money wrapped in a bunch of shit, right? And so, like, I'm just gonna handle that thing, and like, I'm gonna go through, and I'm not gonna get sidetracked at all. Go back through and listen to a bunch of your old calls, guys, and hear yourself get 50% down through a money objection, and then go over here, and then get 30% through a partner objection, and then go over here, and then get 25% through like a timing objection, then go and do this fucking like fear-based smokescreen bullshit reframe thing for 30 minutes to then have them go, yeah, but like, I just need to figure the money part out. Right? And it's like, fuck's sake. So like, your backstop is money. Nothing else matters until you've established the financial parameters of the deal. Nothing matters. Because without that, there is no deal. There's a deal at the end of the day. Okay? Brody, does that make sense? Did I answer that?
Yeah, it does. I was wondering, just after Mark's question, could you go through line by line again one more time, just through that sequence, just so I got the back end. But go Mark first.
For sure. Mark.
First of all, thank you for doing this training, man. It's amazing. And I have a question on what you just mentioned. Sometimes when I do payment plans, I frame it as if it's like a special case, where I ask them, okay, like, what are the highlights for you? They tell me the highlights. So this is not if this will work for you, it's how you can make it work financially.
Yep.
And so I can ask you, like, how motivated are you to follow the program to get the results? So they say like a 10. So they say, okay, in that case, I feel I can trust you. We could possibly do like a payment plan. Would that work? What do you think of this approach?
I mean, I think if it works, do it. I just think that you just want to have a way that is like replicatable. And I always err on the side of the truth, right? So like for me, I've never done like lost, action taker discount type stuff, because like, if they're going to come back to me in 2 days, I'm still going to give them the price. I'm just not going to do it. I just like to have a really, like, and I'm not saying that you're not being honest. That's what I'm saying, right? It's just like, I'm just super straightforward with how I do it. And I minimal fluff and talking, the better. Again, because when you've asked for money, it's it's a very interesting dynamic shift, okay, to where the veil's been broken. And so you want to be very precise with your language. Right? Now, again, if it's working, I'm all for it. And if you can pull it off consistently, my objection handling is so boringly monotonous. It is the same every time. Like it doesn't change for people, nothing. I can do it asleep. It's the same, right? And Brody, like I'll go over that whole sequence again, right? I'll just answer these two questions. But I think if you can structure it in a way where it makes sense, but I think I would have a look at if it's going sideways in any of those interactions, and then if you have to make a spontaneous value judgment on whether or not something will work on somebody, like it's a difficult one to do consistently, right?
You can use all the time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right, Joe.
Question is, so there's this new like financing thing on our offer where it's called Split It, where like essentially they don't need to have a good credit score and there's like no interest involved. So it's like the same price if they split it over 12 months. So I know when you were saying earlier about going for like a 2-pay first before going into the others. Obviously, if I do a 2-pay, I can't do split it for that, so I'm literally like half of me commissions. Would you, with the split it considered, would you recommend just asking them like what they can commit on a monthly basis and then going into split it?
Yeah,
Like,
so this is an interesting nuance, right? To where like there's a what's right for the business, what's right in sales, and what's right for your bank account. If you have a like, I would still pitch the full price, right? But like if they couldn't afford a genuine PIF and I got more money through putting it through Split It, I'd probably put it through Split It, right?
okay.
But I would do it as like hey, this is the other way that this is the way that we can do it, right? Like, would this work for you? And that would be my payment plan option, right? So paid in full, because like, for example, like a wire pay in full is better than a credit card pay in full.
Because there's no transaction fees.
Yeah, that, and also there's no chargebacks,
Yeah.
right?
True.
And then so like wire pay in full is best, then credit card pay in full, then whatever the best option is from there financially. And like you should definitely do things that benefit you financially, right? You know what I mean? So if you don't get trailing comms, you know what I mean, like 2 pays and 3 pays and stuff like that, then don't do that. So yeah, I would go paid in full price, establish that value. Hey, is it the upfront amount? Or if we could break it up, would that help you? Yeah, sweet. Well, we do have this pretty cool thing. It's called Split It. And what we do is we actually break it up for you over 12 months. Like, would that help you out? Yes, it would. Okay, perfect. Right? Make sense? All right, cool.
Yeah.
Sean?
So I've got
All
a
right, go
quick
for it.
question. So usually when, an example, let's say when I pitch the service slash product, and then once it's done, I ask, how does that suit you? How do you feel about this? Or do you feel that this could be an answer for you, quote unquote? And then they say yes, and I ask why, and they give a reason why. And then later on, after they give the reasons, then they give the objection. Do you still go, oh, but money aside? But because money aside, would you want to do this when they already stated what they said previously?
So
Do you still go there?
the answer is yes, but that's where like having different ways of saying the same thing work. What are you doing,
Oh.
buddy? Sorry, my son. So yeah, you need to have, so like if I'm gonna go through and someone like does right, if someone's like if I'm doing money objection, hey, money aside, right, and then and someone comes through with like the partner, right, and I go, okay, well, like if the partner wasn't, if your partner was on board, okay, so I'm saying the same thing, but I'm just removing the objection, right? Makes sense. Okay, so that's where like you just have to practice saying things in different ways. That's where some of that conversational flexibility exercises that I talked about that we're going to be doing during this program. Okay, like it's designed for that stuff, because if you don't get an answer, if you get a non-answer, you need to keep asking the question, and that's a very, very necessary skill set for sales reps to have. It's actually a necessary skill set for anyone to have, because a lot of time, like you'll ask questions and people just don't give you answers. And it's either because, like, if you ask a vague question, you get a vague answer, right? So, and a lot of the time, the way that sales reps in particular ask questions, they are very difficult to answer, because they say, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that, and then it's like all this fucking nonsense because you're like, I'm a sales rep and you don't sound like a normal human. And so the interpretation is quite difficult to figure out, right? Whereas if it's really clear and concise, then you can keep going, but you just have to have different ways of doing that. Like if I ask somebody, okay, so let's just say you go to your partner and they say no, what happens then? Okay, it's a very clear question, but they're still not going to want to answer it. They're going to go, well, I don't think that'll happen. Okay, what if it does? Well, you know, like she's really supportive and okay, but let's just say she's had a really bad day and she's like, no. What happens then? And then it's another blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, let's just say she gets home from work. You know, Becky at work? Yeah, Becky, she's been a bitch, right? Becky's been a mad bitch at work all day. Your wife's come home. She's had a bad day because of Becky. And she's like, no, you're not doing this. What happens? Like, stamp the foot. What happens then? Okay, so like, because I'm going to get that answer, whether I'm not going to do it. Oh, so she's like the decision maker for the business. Well, no. Okay, but if she says no, then you're out. All right, that could be trouble. All right, so like I'm gonna get that answer, and that's where you just have to be good at that, and it's a practice thing. You know, where you just keep asking and asking and asking and asking and asking, but it's in a way where like you're not frustrated, and it's like there's an escalation to it that gets more definitive. Okay, right. All right, let's go with Ron, then Sveta.
Thanks for doing this. Question is for there and there. I have a martial arts school, so we do like a paid trial low barrier offer. They do a month for $100 basically, and then 2 weeks in, we present all the other offers. We do like a belt test for the kid on the first day, et cetera, et cetera. So how I've always done it is I have 4 options: option A, B, C, D. Option A is 30% discount. Option B is a 20% discount if they put $500 down. C is $300 down, then they get a 10% discount. And then option D is like nobody takes it, but it's got that. So I'm just curious, is that I am coming into the objection like, oh, I got to talk to my wife, or mom's not here, or that sort of thing. Is there any benefit to, like, how would you deal with that type of scenario?
Are you presenting them all like, hey, here's your options A, B, C, D?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
The only thing is I've been trying to like pre-frame, like preload it, because now what we've been doing is I've been kind of giving them the pricing like within the first week. Hey, do you have the pricing? Just so you know, we do an incentive if you sign up on the day. If you sign up at the belt testing, we give you a $200 discount off any prepayment.
If I came back the next day, would you give me the discount?
Probably would.
Then it's not real, is it?
But well, no. I'm you want the honest answer or the one that I'm trying to present?
The honest answer. That's what I'm saying. The honest answer.
The honest answer is I'd be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. So like, just don't like. So the answer is like, you know, if it's working, keep doing it. Okay. Can you optimize it? Sure. That's a lot of choice, right? You know, generally speaking, if I come to somebody, you know, don't give me choices. Tell me what I'm supposed to do. Okay. Now, when it comes to payment, like, do you get things like, oh, well, you know, I'll just wait until I have the full amount, or
No,
so I can get
the way I structured it is like the option A is the paid in full, which is actually my real tuition rate that I want. So I kind of, instead of discounting my rate, I just made the paid in full amount what I really want, and then made everything else that much more expensive. So I'm fine whatever I get. Like I'm kind of
but like, do you get people going, well, I'll wait until I have the full amount because like they get a discount for paying in full?
I've had it happen once.
Okay. Well, then, you know, what I would do first and foremost, like it's hard to say if it's good or a bad way of doing it. My sales intuition tells me that's too much choice, right?
Okay.
To give someone up front. My gut is to, you know, only present one price and one way of doing it. You know what I mean? Just because, you know, when you're people are now they have to make more than one choice. Now they have to like initially go, okay, I want to do it and that one. You know what I mean? And that price where it's like the first thing is like, do you want to do this? Yes. Okay. And now how do we pay for it? You know? So I think like maybe breaking it up. But again, if it's working really well, then like what the fuck to be honest, like who cares?
Yeah, like we
You know what I mean?
close from the trial to that at about 50 to 60%, depending on the time of year. And of those closes, about 50% of them do the paid in full.
Then I wouldn't fuck with it too much. But if there's one that no one takes, just remove it because it's just nonsense choice.
Okay,
You know what I
appreciate
mean?
that.
Just like
Yeah, just
as a starting-
streamline it even more. Okay,
Yeah.
appreciate
All right.
it. Thank you.
Sveta?
Yeah, thanks a lot for the training. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So if we talk about gym membership, there is no option for pay in full. There is only option for annual contract, but you pay monthly, and monthly rolling, that is more expensive, but also paying monthly. What would you pitch? Would you try to make it up like Cardon was doing? Because I think he had the similar case. He would sell membership for his course, but he will create that big number for the like pay for the year.
Yeah. So they're like month to month rolling memberships. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, they're paying every month, but there are two options. You either have a annual contract, so you subscribe for a year, but you pay
Yeah.
per month, or
Yeah.
you don't have that contract and you can like cancel anytime and you pay
What's-
more. But
what's best for
again,
you?
per month. Annual contract.
Then pitch the annual contract
Okay.
and then your drop sell is the month to month. Right. So
Okay, but
your
month-
like so your drop is a month. Yeah, I know if it's gonna be more expensive, like, but that's an easy one to verbally maneuver.
Okay.
It's like, right, because there's a guarantee. It's like, okay, so the way that we generally do it is it's a 12-month contract for this much over the course of the year. How do you want to proceed
So
from here?
we talk about the entire
I
value
would, yeah.
of it.
I would, yeah.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
okay.
And then
Mhm.
that way they might go, oh, is it up front? And go, well, it can be.
Okay.
Would you like to do that? Do you know what I mean? They might go, oh, and go like, money aside though, do you feel like this would be the answer? Yes, it would. Why is that?
Mhm.
Okay, this. All right, cool. So does it make sense? Like, what is it? All right, cool, yada, yada, yada. Like, what is it specifically? Well, it's this, and this. Okay, so, is it the upfront amount? Or if we did break that up for you, like, would that help? They go, oh, you can do that? Go, yeah, sweet. Yeah, you can pay monthly if you'd like. Oh, that'd be perfect. Now you've got an annual contract paying monthly, which is fantastic. And then
Mhm.
if they then have any more objections, like a trusting or whatever like that, you can go, what we can do is, since you want to kind of remove some of the, I guess, some of your burden, right? That increases our risk. Okay. You know what I mean? And so, but what we're happy to do for you is if you just want to do monthly, it's this much on a monthly basis, right? But then if you do want to switch over to an annual contract, then we can go ahead and knock that back down. So which one will work better for you? Or
Okay,
again,
got
so
it.
it's easy to talk your way through that kind of thing, but you just want to have a starting point, and the starting point is super clear. And at the starting point is the best possible outcome for you, which is a 12-month contract paid in full. That's the GOAT.
Okay.
Then it's like 12-month contract paid monthly, right? And then it's like no contract paid monthly, right? So because now you have a systematic way of dropping, okay, to where it's
Yep.
intentional. It doesn't sound desperate, okay, but like it's very, very intentional. And but now you have an opportunity to potentially get a 12-month paid in full. Whereas like if you don't ever present that, then you'll never get it. Right?
Okay.
Like it's very difficult to get someone to buy in a lower amount and then get them to do the paid in full. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Thanks.
again, that's just whether or not that works well for your business, for your comm structure, whatever works best. Like you kind of want to structure around that. Whatever is like the most financially beneficial for you as like sales rep, right? Like that's how you kind of want to, structure everything around. Again, like the business advice is different than the sales rep's advice, so you have to kind of go between those two. All right, Nick.
Yeah. So, like a couple weeks ago, I was here and I asked you, or I told you about how when I am at the end of the call handling objections, and if it goes on for quite a while and I get them to close, a lot of the times they wake up and they say, I want my money back, like the next day. And you mentioned that I should get them to tell me that they want to do it more, like more than once. How do you do that? What is the way to do that?
Be better at sales. No. The real answer is like, so throughout the process, you can you want to sort of get someone to to tell you throughout the process multiple times that they want it, they need it now. Okay. And so the way that you do that is just through like little tiny probes. Okay. So it's like, hey, I want to lose some weight. Oh, okay. How much weight? How much you want to lose that for? Okay. Why now? Okay. Like, and you want to like lose that weight now or later? Now? Why now? Oh, okay. That makes sense. Like
so
it's that casual.
So you
Like-
weren't saying that for when I'm after handling the objection and like right before they're about to pay? That's the way I took it when you told me that.
The entire call.
Okay. Yeah. I'm kind of doing that already. Like,
Yeah,
I
but maybe not very well.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so if you're getting a lot of refunds, you're either pushy, right? Like that, like you're just pushing people. So you have to have a look at like, well, if there's 10 people that I sell and 3 of them I fucking railed on them,
yeah.
right? Chances are 2 out of those 3 are gonna, and I'm happy with that math. Right?
You're really.
Like, are you like, well, no, I'm saying that's the question you gotta ask yourself. Am I happy with that math? Because if I make 10 sales and 3 of them I know I was pretty rough with, and 2 of them refund, so I get 8 sales, the math most of the time. Right? But
Yeah.
you have to learn to break it up and go like, okay, like, and probably just find the line, because I'm tipping you get no follow-up sales, right?
No, that's not
No?
entirely true. I'd say about 10 to 20% of them are follow-up.
Okay, because generally speaking, like if you're getting a lot of refunds because you're pushing people quite hard. If you push
Absolutely.
people quite hard, it's because you struggle to find the line, right?
Yeah.
And then like, which means you're gonna have less follow-up sales than normal.
Yeah.
That's just generally speaking how it goes, right? It doesn't have to be that way, but you know. So you just gotta like, you know, first of all, like, you know, I would say have a listen to see if there's like some venom or frustration in your tone. Frustration is the one that makes it get combative most of the time.
Yeah.
Right. So if you can avoid that just by realizing you're probably not, you know, as smart or cool as what you think you are, you know what I mean? And then just go like, all right, cool, I'll give him a break. Sweet as I do have to go in a minute, guys. So Nick, real quick.
Yeah, awesome. This has been amazing, by the way. Thank you so much. I sell a level 1 and a level 2 course for PTs. I educate PTs. So the level, we sell it for like both combined, like level 1 6K, level 2 6K, and then I sell it combined like 10K, or paid in full is like 5K. But I want to know, like, what should be the incentive for a pay in full? Like, is there a certain percentage of difference in pricing that it should be that's enough as of an incentive for people to pay in full?
It's a good question. It's probably going to be very market specific, to be honest.
Okay.
Like it's kind of a hard one to answer. I would say you want to have like you want to have an incentive that is enough to where 20% would be the max.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think any more than that, your payment plan price is probably just bullshit. To be honest, it's probably overly inflated. Yeah, sweet. Okay, yeah,
Matt,
so, yeah.
do this last little bit with me. I think everybody's asking about pricing and shit. Book a consult with Matt if you want to go through your pricing offer. Like, if we can go like actually through the objection handling bit. Like
Yeah, for sure.
Just
So
yeah.
I'll go through. So okay, cool. So Brody, if you want to be the prospect,
Do you want me to know,
like,
John?
just be like normal. So hey, Brody. So you know it's $10,000. How do you want to proceed from here?
Man, look, it sounds great. I'll
Why is that?
run. Oh well, like it's you know, it's from where my business is to, you know, where I want to get it to. Yeah, it sounds like it could work. I just need to run over the finances.
Yeah, sweet, man. Money aside, do you feel like this could be the answer for you?
Yeah, I think it could. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that makes you feel that way?
I guess for me, it's probably the accountability, just like having the coach there to kind of speak to every day. Haven't really had that before.
And like, why would that help?
Well, I guess it's just don't feel like I'm really doing it alone. Then, you know, just actually have the support and that guidance that. So yeah, I feel like I'm actually got someone to help me.
Okay, man, like Makes sense though. I guess like, so what are some ways that I guess we can come up with the funding to where you can actually get that accountability and have someone, you know, kind of looking over your shoulder and just making sure that things are happening right?
I don't know. I don't know how. I'm not really sure.
Okay, well, is it the upfront amount, or if we kind of broke that up for you, like, would that help?
Yeah, you can break it. It is the upfront amount. I just don't
Okay.
think
Okay. Well, do you want to have that payment plan kind of conversation?
sure. Yeah.
Sure, man. Yeah, dude, it's totally normal, right? So, you know, a lot of guys that come to us for training, right, they're kind of allocating resources to areas of their life that might not necessarily be, you know, like driving them towards being healthy. And so we have to reallocate, you know what I mean? And so what we can do for a lot of guys is we usually break it up over 2 payments, right? They're 30 days apart of 5,000. Would that work more within your current budget, or like, are we kind of still way off?
It's probably still a little bit off.
Okay. Well, like obviously I can't hit a target that I can't see, but if you broke it up over 3 payments over 3 months, like would that help you?
You do like a weekly?
Uh, I mean, that's difficult for us because we do have to front load an awful lot of your education, like with the coaching and yeah, you're doing and like, do you know what I mean? But like, you know, I guess like just between me, you, no ego, no nothing. Like, what do you actually have on hand to be able to invest into your health and fitness?
I know, if maybe a few $100 a week, maybe.
Yeah. Right. Okay, cool. This is where like the nuance of the offer comes into play because I don't know,
Yep.
right? But I would say, like, let's just say I had a plan that kind of worked, right? Because this is just like logistics. So okay, cool. So like, you know, like $500 a week, would that work more within your current budget?
Yeah, I think I could make that work.
You sure? You could just keep doing what you're doing, man. Like maybe you don't need us. I don't know, man.
And then right now, like, it's funny that the exact role play is exactly where it starts to go into fear. It's like, yeah, I just don't know. Just yeah, I think I could make that work.
Okay, so $500 a week in order for us to look over everything, you know, get you back on track and get you going to XYZ, like that works within your current budget.
Yeah, that works.
All right, well, how do you want to proceed from here? And then it can go into fear or whatever it can go into, right? But the key is that you just lock up that. I don't know if I'm delaying, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just going to turn my camera off real quick. I think it's just fucking around a bit. Yeah, so and then from there you just kind of, you know, you would go through like your next series, but that makes sense as a process. It's quite quick, it's quite clean. It doesn't need to be anything more complicated than that when it comes to just a pure money objection, right? Like it's very clear.
I was just about to, if I was to throw a partner objection in there, could you just quickly role play that last bit? So if it's like you're talking about money, you got this $500, you know, work within your budget, and then I immediately, before you've kind of rounded out that vertical, I just throw in,
Yeah,
I just guess I need to speak to the wife.
like so yeah, but I would just, you know, I'd go, yeah, man, like that makes sense, but does this still work? But does this work within the current budget? Like I would just ignore it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Like that's it. And then I'm just gonna make you say yes, and then I'm gonna go, okay, how do you want to proceed from here? Knowing that you're gonna give me a wife objection, I'm gonna go, okay, and if your wife was on the call, do you feel like, you know, she would think that this is a good move for you? You know?
And you go,
Yes.
why? Ask him about
Yeah.
why.
Why though? And then I'm gonna break them down to like a decision tree of like, would you or wouldn't you? So if you ask her and she says no, what happens? That's the key decision point. Because if you probe on that a few times and the real answer is he cannot move forward without her, then you have to speak to her. Right.
And I'm sure you'll cover that on partner.
Yeah.
But that, are you asking again why though? So you're going, why?
Yeah. Yeah,
be,
I'm just probing all the time.
yeah, good.
Okay. All right, cool. Jeremiah, last question, then I got to bounce, guys. Hope that was helpful, buddy.
Man, thank
Hey
you
man,
so much.
thanks for doing this. Did you post any PDFs or anything like that as far as following frameworks? Because if so, I haven't been able to find them.
Yeah, the objection handling matrix is in the posts, right? But I will repost it, which has got the full framework available. Actually, let me see if I
Is
can
it in Notion or?
it's also in the Notion, yes. But let me put it in the chat real quick.
Thank you.
Let me see if I can put it in the chat. I don't know if that's a function that is available. Oh, no, it's not. I will pop it in YouTube right after this. And then
Yeah,
I
man.
will put it in the description of this video, because this will be uploaded into the objection handling course in the playlist. Okay.
Thanks so much.
All right, guys. Awesome. We'll speak to you guys in a couple days. Bye.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is session 2 of the objection handling course. All right, and we're actually YouTube should actually work today, which is good. So, all right, we'll give everyone a couple minutes to get in here. But how's everyone going? Everyone gone away? Anyone implemented any of the stuff that we went over in session 1? Had any wins? Feel free to raise your hand. No? All right, I'll just go fuck myself then. Sounds good. All right. All righty. Luis.
Yeah, bro. Closed the deal yesterday. The biggest takeaway was just like staying in that pocket and going deeper with her, because she had a lot of financial concerns, but at the end of the day, it was fear. So yeah, man, it works. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Have you had problems going deeper with ladies before? Has that been a common issue of yours?
You know what? It is a common issue, man. But luckily, I'm married now.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. It's weird. Anyway, I can sympathize but not empathize. Does that make sense? I'm thinking about having an extra session in here once a month on conspiracy theories. No judging, just like, let's go deep, guys. Tower 7, what do we think? Right? You know what I mean? I feel like these are the discussions that we need to have in this kind of environment. All right? Anyway, I love that shit. I'm all in. Right? Ben, you got a question? Are you just gonna share? Are you just gonna share what you think about it?
No. I think conspiracies that's a great idea. But I just had a clarifying question, because I was pitching price wrong. So I would do like the discounted thing. We were talking, and I just wanted to make sure from last week I got it right. So we do it's like 24K for 6 months. So it's 144K. But if you pay up front, it's 120K. So when I pitch, should I just say the investment to do XYZ is 144K? And then kind of like down from there, or do I say it's 120K?
So, you know, the answer is there is no right. Okay, so I want you to always just play around with stuff. You know what I mean? And see what comes out and feels comfortable. You know, like there are some situations where I will pitch the price at the very beginning of my pitch, and some where I'll pitch it right at the very end, right? And it's a kind of a depending on the offer and what I'm split testing. So just pick one of the options, and then from there, like, see how you go handling objections. I prefer most of the time to present the most expensive version of it, because it makes it easier for me to roll downhill, like when I'm doing my objection handling. You know what I mean? But there will be some offers and instances and stuff like that. And what I don't want us to do is get into like really individual kind of minutia, because at the end of the day, you won't know until you test and adjust it. And what you got to do is test something, do it a very specific way for enough people, which is probably 40 plus, right? You know what I mean? 30 to 40 plus people, because you've got laydowns, you've got people who will never buy, you know, you've got weird reactors, stuff like that. So you want enough of a sample sizing to be able to actually, you know, kind of say, okay, I'm getting a pretty consistent result here, and I want to like change it, right?
I know you said last time though, if we present like the discounted pay in full first, and then say, oh, you can break it up, but it's actually going to be 144K instead. If you did 120K up front, that's like bad, because it's making them pay more for not having money, right? And so do you just say like, yeah, it's 24K a month for 6 months, or if you pay it up front, it's only 20K a month, or it's only 120K? Does it make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, it does. And, you know, I think as well, just test each one and see what is easier to overcome. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Right. So that's kind of the key. Test each one. All right, we'll go one more question, then we're going to get into what we're going to be going over today's partner objections. Sean, you have a question?
Got a question regarding what you said, actually. You said something quite interesting regarding split testing. So regarding calls, I mean, I am jotting down what objections were coming up, etc., and how the calls are going for. But how would you go about organizing and split testing sort of sales calls? It's not like a marketing automation where you know exactly what's going where. How do you go about that specifically to split test and see what's working, what's not working? What would be the smart way?
It's the exact same way. So, like when you split test a marketing funnel, you don't change 7 things in the funnel, right? I mean, you could, but you would be shit at marketing, right? Like, you know, like that would be like a bad marketer, right? So, like you change one thing, you do it for a number of instances. The key is consistency. Most of the volatility in people's sales process comes from a lack of consistency in the delivery of their questions, tonality, pacing, timing. And so what they're doing is they're getting a slightly different answer every single time because they're asking it in a slightly different way. So they're inducing variables each time, which is why people stay in the beginner stage for a very, very long time. Right? It's so hard to problem solving new things on the fly every time takes a super brain power, right? It's like none of us have that, you know? And so you have to learn how to become consistent. So you start at the top of your script because the top of your script is the most frequently interacted with. Bottom of your script is the least frequently interacted with. So you start at the top of your script, and then what you do is you like make it super consistent. Hey, this is just Matt reaching out to you about XYZ, right? You're not going, hey, this is just Matt reaching about XYZ. You know, like you're not doing it a different way every time. And then what you do is you just go through bit by bit, step by step, the whole thing. And that way, once you've done that process, then you can start split testing. You can't split test when you're doing shit differently every time, and the entire thing is a total mess. Now, you will never be able to do the exact same script every single time. However, your key questions, right, and those key points, right, will be able to be delivered very consistently and intentionally. Right. And that's when once you have that, then you can start changing. All right, Sveta, I know you had a question, so let's go with that, and then we're going to go to partner objection.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Very quick question. Yesterday, 2 days ago, you mentioned that money objection is the top of the hierarchy, and also you were talking about ignoring what they are saying and just following the process. So if they, for example, give an objection, think about or partner or any other objection, would you still follow the same process and assume money, but it's like, or you go with a different approach? Does make sense, the question?
Yeah, for sure. So, we don't want to major in the minors, okay? You know, smart dude said that, right? Dude named Jesus, right? So what we want to do is we want to make sure we focus on the concepts, right? So the concept is you want to finish one objection at a time. Handling multiple objections at a time is quite difficult. So what you're doing is you're kind of ignoring the things that take you and divert you off the path. You may have to address and re-divert. Ignoring is ideal. It may not. You may have to, like, if they're pushing it really hard, you have to go, okay, and we can, you know, talk about your partner. But like if we set the money aside, right? So you might have to be a bit more forceful and intentional about taking them down this line, because until this line is done, right, it's very difficult to get a final outcome on the other ones. Right?
So no matter what they're saying, I still go like, let's remove money and we can talk about partner in a second, but let's follow that step-by-step process. We fix that, I don't know, we restate the value that they gave, and then if we need, we go back to the partner that they brought up, right?
Exactly. And I want to preface that with like the no matter what statement, right, is like doesn't sort of exist because we're talking about communicating with humans, but as a general rule, right?
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I mean, if someone's like, but you know, if they're like, if they're throwing haymakers at you to answer the question, maybe just answer the question, right? Because the level of resistance that would build up, right? Okay, guys, good stuff. All right, so a recap. What I'll do is I'll just I'll pin myself. So a recap of the other day, okay? And again, the objection handling matrix is inside the thing. I'll also post it up later on today. Okay. But it's a recap of the money. Okay. Because the principles are relatively similar. So money aside, so objection aside, do you feel like this would be the answer? All right. The important thing being that we're removing the objection, but then from there, okay, staying calm, leaned out, and we're going, do you feel like this would be the answer? Okay, now that wording is very concise, it's very specific. We don't want to go, so from what I've told you today, do you feel like what we're doing would get you the result, right? It's not that, okay? It's designed to be somewhat vague, right? Because I'm just looking for, yeah, I guess that's it. That's all I want. And go, why do you think that? Because I'm going to take their 50% in and turn it into a 55 and then a 60 and then a 70 and then an 80 and then a 90 through probing and clarifying techniques, right? But I want them to get there. And I don't care if they say, yeah, I mean, I guess it could. But, oh, why do you think it could though? Okay. All right. So, and then from there, we're going to go, then we're going to get them to say something. Hey, you know, I think it's the XYZ. Okay, what is it about the XYZ that you feel like would sort of be the key to the castle for you? And you can say that bit however you want. You can say, how do you think that would most benefit you? Key to the castle. What you're looking for is more detail. Okay, if a woman tells me that she finds me attractive, I'm going to say, why is that? Right? Your eyes. Oh, is it the color? Ah, that's nice. Right? You know what I mean? And then she's going to have a little cheeky grin. We're going to have a laugh, right? I make her laugh. I make her breakfast, right? I'm married. I don't do that stuff anymore. Well, I still do, right? You know what I mean? It's just my wife, right? She's very easy to make laugh. She likes my humor. So, you know, like I'm asking for clarifying detail. And what that is designed to make them dig in and dig in on their idea, because it's their idea. If they give detail to me, they are moving that little ball forward little bit by bit, okay? Because I'm like talking about it, you know? I like this t-shirt. Why that t-shirt? Well, it's really comfy, you know what I mean? Oh, it's so comfy about it. Oh, the fabric's real nice. And now all of a sudden it's their favorite t-shirt, right? It's super easy to do and it works on everybody, okay? Then from there, we can establish more. If we're getting a lot of detail out of them, and we can like stop there and then keep moving on to the next, or we can sort of stay in that realm a little bit and ask them more questions, right? If we're hearing stuff that's like, oh yeah, it's the accountability. Oh, what about the accountability? Oh, I've just never had anyone. Okay, you feel like that would help? Yeah, why is that? Okay, so again, it's detail, right? Then from there, the next part, we go, okay, so what are some ways that we can come up with the funds to where you can get X, right? Which is the thing they just said they need. Okay? Like that's why what we're trying to do is we're trying to win. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Right? It's a small attrition wins. Boom, 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 boom. And it's the fastest way, even though it's the scenic route, right? The problem is a lot of you guys are taking the open net, right? They're presenting an open net, and then one of those fucking robot things pops up in the middle and blocks your shot, right? It's because like you see, oh man, I really need this. And you go, oh sweet, like that, and you get all excited, and then you push the ball forward, but you don't sit back and go, oh, why is that? Oh, okay. And what is it specifically though? Ah, that makes sense. And why do you feel that would help you? Okay. And have you had that before? No. Why not? You know, well, these little questions, right? It's just like you're curious. Okay. Then from there, this is when we start going into like a logistical, right? Because we've established they need it, they want it, and they go, oh, I'm not really sure. You know what I mean? Or they have ideas. Right? And this is where like a little bit of the veil is dropped, right? And you're going to start going through a logistical series of different things, okay? Where the outcome is that we get to okay, so this would work within your current budget, right? And that's a really nice and important question. Okay, so XYZ would work within your current budget? Yes. How do you want to proceed from here? Okay, then today what we're going over is partner, okay? Now, partner is a very interesting objection, okay? There's a big difference between B2B and B2C, okay? So we're going to focus on, I'm going to talk about the differences, and we're going to focus on B2B, on B2C today, right? I will be going into the B2B partner objection. However, a lot of the B2B objections are just clarification on the certainty of what you're hearing, and then follow the fuck up. Right? Like, you know what I mean? I'm talking true B2B where there are multiple decision makers and departments, not like selling a business owner that's doing 10 million bucks a year. Right? If you're talking to the decision maker, right? I'm talking if you're talking to someone who like generally has, like, for example, I've been trying to sell Dialer to a business called New Reach. They have Pace Morbius offers and all these other, about 100 men, 80 seats, right? And one of the owners is in hardcore, good to go, right? And they're all kind of in, right? And I've been chipping away. It's been 2.5, 3 months now, right? And I think I'm about 4 weeks away. Okay, but you know, it's a multi-7-figure contract, and it's worth it. And you just chip away, right? You know, and there's all different strategies, stuff like that. When I sold Andy Elliott's team, it was like I got on a phone call with the manager, then I got on a phone call with the owners, and then I got another phone call with the manager, and it was done. Right? It was super quick. You know what I mean? By the way, best sitting team I've ever seen. So shout out to Andy's team. Seriously, best thing. I've never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. Never seen. Yeah, it's crazy. Those dudes fucking get after it. Anyway, so okay, so partner objection. So the theory of it, okay, is there is an inflection point that is a very important one, which is the will you do it without your partner or not? Okay, if your partner says no, will you do it? It is the most important question, and it is the most difficult one to get answered. Okay, and they will squirrel their way around like crazy to not answer it. All right. Hey, you know, okay, so what happens if you go to your partner and they say no? What happens then? Well, you know, I don't think she would. What if she does? Well, you know, like we have a really good relationship like that, and she's really supportive, you know, so I'm pretty sure like she does. Well, like what if she does it? What if she says no? Well, then I have to convince her. Right? Again, none of these are answers. Okay? So like we need the answer. And this is where like having that conversational flexibility, which we will have later on in this course, we are having specific role plays on conversational flexibility for this exact reason. Okay, I've trained many reps on this stuff, and like I know the things that like trip people up. Okay, so like, how do we get there? The first principle is the same. Okay, if your partner wasn't here, or hey, if your partner was on the call today and they'd gone through everything, do you feel like they would be on board? Okay, which is again the same as removing the objection. Okay, so if your partner was here today and they were kind of on the call, do you feel like they'd be on board? They're gonna say yes, right? Again, because you know they're gonna say yes. If they don't say yes, then this is a sales problem, not an objection problem, because you're kind of right. You can say, why do you think they won't be? But really, what they're gonna tell you is why they're not in. Okay, because most of the time, a partner objection is not like smokescreen is sort of a decent term for it, but what it really is, it's because they consider it to be real, but it's an abdication of responsibility. And I use that word very particularly. Abdication is like, you know, when someone abdicates the throne, so they're stepping down from their duty and responsibility. Okay, so when you abdicate responsibility, if I'm the business owner, right? And like my wife, for example, doesn't work. Okay, she hasn't worked we have 2 kids, right? So she's full-time mom, but she hasn't worked for 10 years, right? She doesn't make any business. Okay, she has no input whatsoever in my business, nor does she have a lot of input into our finances when it comes to major decisions, because I make all the money. It's her money as well, but I have more context. So I make the final decisions when it comes to that stuff. She has way more context when it comes to the kids' schools and stuff like that. So she makes all the decisions around that, right? Like I would inform her, not ask for permission, in the same way where she would inform me of something, not ask for my permission. You know what I mean? And in terms, does that make sense, guys? Like there's a responsibility. Okay, so so what we have to do is someone is the business owner. Like the underlying thesis that I think is that you cannot put the responsibility of making a decision on someone if they do not have all of the context available, and they don't have an ability to affect the outcome very much, right? That seems like an unfair burden to put on somebody, right? So if I ask my wife and I go, hey, I have this fantastic business opportunity. It's going to cost me 300 grand. Do you think I should do it? She's going to go, I don't fucking know, mate. What do you think? Right? Like, and if I put it on her, then what I'm doing is I don't want to bear the consequences of the failure. That's all it is. Right? I want to say, oh man, that thing blew up. I could have done that, but she wouldn't let me. So now it's her fault. And then, you know, if I do it and I doesn't work out, then I can say, well, you know, you were the one that said I should do it. Right? Basically, you're a pussy. Right? And like, we don't want that. Right? We want people to take responsibility for what they're doing. So that's my underlying feeling and how I approach it. Okay. And like, I'm a big believer in that. You know what I mean? Which helps me very much overcome partner objections. Because like, if you can't spend $5 at asking your husband or asking your wife or your partner or whatever, then like, this is going to be a difficult one for you, because you can't really overcome an objection with conviction that you do yourself. Right? If you haven't spent money on a course, or if you and not about buying this course, right? And you sell a $10,000 package, like, fuck, man, you know, I don't know how much cheaper or easier I could have made it for you. You're like, ugh. I have people message me, hey, what about this? I go, I don't care. That's what I message back. I don't care, mate. Do what you want. Like, I don't give a fuck. I don't need or want your money. Like, it's cheap for a reason. Don't ask me questions. Right? Like, this is the whole point. I don't want to have to talk to people, right? Okay, we'll do questions at the end, guys. So, because I want to get through it all. So, the partner objection. Okay, so the first thing is remove it. Hey, if your partner was on this call today, do you feel like, you know, she'd be on board or he'd be on board? The answer is yes. Okay, do you mind telling me why? Okay, now the next one I like, it's, hey, what do you feel like your partner would potentially be most apprehensive about? Okay, now this is their opportunity to tell you what they're apprehensive about without having to be vulnerable. Okay, so if you're a woman selling to a man, it's a great one, because a lot of guys will not tell you that they don't have the money. Okay, because we are weak and feeble creatures, and we fear the judgment of the woman, right? Right? And we put a lot of value on ourselves in terms of the amount of money that we can provide. Right? So to say to a woman as a man, like, oh, I don't have the money, like, that is a level of, right? It's a sting. You know what I mean? It just is. All the guys are like, yep, that sucks. I don't want to do that. Right? So you have to create a safe environment for them to do that. Right? Okay. So, so we go, hey, so, you know, I guess, like, what do you feel like your partner would be most apprehensive about? This is where they're going to tell you. Okay. And they're going to go, well, you know, I've tried a lot of these things in the past. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, so like, that's the objection. Okay. Now we have to still go through partner. Okay. Because we have to tie it off. Okay. But now we know that is a very good indicator that this is not a full real partner objection. Okay. So like, we're going to attack this in different ways. You know what I mean? Does that make sense, guys? It's a really nice, chill way of going like, hey man, tell me what's going on. Give me the tea. What's happening here? Right? The math isn't mathing. Right? And they're going to go, you know, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Then from there, we want to go into, okay, so what happens? So, sorry, we want to go, okay, but do you feel like this is what you need in order to kind of move the ball forward for you and your business, yada, like whatever it is you're selling? They go, yes. Okay. Ask for more clarification and detail. Why is that? Okay, so what happens if you go to your partner and they say no? Now we start with just that wording, okay? Well, the one thing that you'll notice is that you need an escalation of wording, okay? Because if you start at the end, you have nowhere to go, right? It's the same as where I like pitching high so I can roll low, okay? Like, I need to go, okay, so, you know, so, sorry, I'm having a little stroke here. So we ask the questions and then we go, okay, so do you feel like this could be the answer? Yes. Okay. Do you mind telling me why? All right, cool. And what happens if you go to your partner and she says no? Real simple. Then they're not going to answer that question. So your job now
is to have 4 to 5 different ways of saying that with an escalating thing to get the answer. Okay, the way that you escalate is going to be through specificity and like going to the logical conclusions and making things a little bit more outrageous. Okay, so because they're going to answer it with like, oh, you know, yada yada yada, some bullshit answer that doesn't have an answer. Okay, then from there you're going to go, okay, but like what happens though? You come home, wife's had a bad day, you ask her, she says no. Another no answer. Okay, but you know, a lot of people then move on, but they don't have the answer. You know, and the last one is, okay, but you know that girl at work, Becky, that's a real bitch that your wife hates. Well, she's been extra bitchy today. And then your wife gets home, she's in an absolutely abhorrent mood, right? And she goes, no, I hate you. And no. What do you do then? Like, you don't give them an escape. Yep, Becky's the worst, right? Right? And so you don't give them an escape. And then you go, what? Like, what actually happens? And if they say, well, then I guess I would have to find a different way to move to do X, Y, Z. And you go, oh, okay, so she's like a kind of key decision maker in the business, or like, you know, like what kind of role does she have in the business? Oh no, she doesn't. Okay, well, let me ask you a question. And this is where a rare time where I'll go straight into a frame, right? It's more of like an analogy because like I need to give a little bit of context. And I'll say, have you ever heard the expression heavy is the head that wears the crown? And they go, yes, no, whatever. And I go, okay, a lot of people think it's because like jewels are heavy. What it is that it's the burden of the responsibility of the decision making. And so do you feel like it's fair to ask your partner to be the ultimate arbiter of this decision when she cannot affect the outcome, nor does she have all the context required to make the decision? Is that fair to her? And I have very rarely said, yes, that's fair. Right? They're going to go, well, not really. Well, why do you think that is? And I go, okay, so do you feel like this is the best move for you and your family? Yes, it is. So what happens if you go to your wife and she says no? Okay, we go back to the original question, the simple wording, and then they have to then answer it and they go, well, then I would do it anyway. Right? And then I go, why would you do that? Or they go, well, then I just couldn't do it. Then we have to get the partner on the phone. Because you know that is legit. Okay? You can't move it forward without it. You have to do it. Like, if you've gone through all of that and you're like, there's no fucking way, right? I used to sell a women's fitness offer for like sort of menopausal women, and they had a lot of shitty partners that like I could tell they were fucking terrified of spending money without telling their husband, like genuinely scared. I'm not gonna have that chick get punched because of me. Right? I'll tell you that right now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna like get the partner on the phone. Right? If she's not comfortable with that, then I'm gonna try and coach her how to do it. Okay, like you're trying to do things, you can't do everything. It's not going to fall in line every single time. But if I can't get him on the phone because she's really quite uncomfortable with that, then I'm going to coach her, and it's be us versus him, right? Like, hey, I'm on your fucking team, like, let's go, right? And I'm going to get the follow-up sale, or I won't. But I did everything I could do, right? If I can get the partner on the phone, okay, I'm going to take them through a little bit of a recap and then just go through an objection handle, right? Like it's, you know what I mean? Chances are they've done a fair bit of work on them already. And so, you know, there's a decent chance that you get them, and you can do some twisting of people there, but generally speaking, it's not like that difficult. But the most common one is that they go, well, you know, I guess I would just do it anyway. Then from there, you want to dig in as to why, and you go, okay, so if you feel like this is the best move for your family, and you're going to move forward regardless, and we know that it works in the budget, how do you want to proceed from here? And you just shut up and see what happens. They might go, yeah, mate, this all makes total sense. So you just go away and think about it. And then you just think about it. Okay? So that's the recap. Okay? So that's the overview. All right? So yeah, you're going to try and help them get through this logically. Exactly. Right? So first thing, remove the objection. Okay? So, you know, if your partner was here, okay, I don't like to say partner aside because like that doesn't make any sense. right? Like, oh, if you didn't have a partner, you know, oh yeah, it's weird, right? You know, but so we're like, so like, you know, if your partner was on the call and they had all the context, and you know, do you feel like this would be? Do you feel like that they would be on board? Yeah, I would. Yeah. I'm like, why do you feel that way? Okay, cool. Get some detail. You know, I guess, what do you think your partner might be most apprehensive about? Right? Give them an opportunity, right? Which is going to be like maybe your next objection, right? It's like a trust thing for themselves. You know what I mean? And then from there, we go down, escalate more detail, and then it's like just keep coming back to that same question. What happens if she says no? Happens if she says no? Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I find it's a really good, simple, easy analogy that makes a lot of sense, okay, to people. And then from there, it's like, okay, so if you feel like it's the best thing for you, it works within the budget, and you're going to move forward anyway, how do you want to proceed from here? Okay, does that make sense, everyone? Cool. All right, cool. What we'll do is we can do like a run through, right? Where I'll be the rep. Somebody can be the prospect, right? Let me see if I know many people in here. If I can get, because role playing is a particular skill set in itself. Yeah, a lot of people in here. Adam, are you in here? Adam Courtney?
I am.
Hey, mate. How are you?
Indeed. 1 second. I'll just pop on my camera there.
Yeah. Don't scare everyone.
Put some clothes on.
Yeah, no, right?
Fully nude here, guys.
Mate, that's
It's late in Ireland, you know.
Next level of style.
11 p.m.
All right. So what we'll do, Adam, is I'll get you to be the prospect. We're just going to go quite simple. Okay. And then you can throw some color in there if you want to. We're going to go through like a pretty cruisy money, then partner, right? So you can try and deflect me halfway through, whatever. I don't care, whatever you want to do. But we want to get to money. We want to get to a resolution. Don't be like, I have no money whatsoever. It's like, well, that's going to end pretty early. Yeah, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? What are you showing us there, buddy?
I'm just trying to.
I hope that's a thumb. Right?
Fucking laptop.
All right.
Okay, can you see me?
Right? I thought you were getting real, just asserting your dominance over the entire group, right? Right? All right. I'll pin you as well. Yeah. All right, cool. This is Adam, everyone. Adam is a G. He's a very good sales rep. All right. Cool. All right, Adam. So it's so it's $10,000. How do you want to proceed from here?
10,000. Is that so 10 upfront, or like what's the?
Yeah, you can pay upfront if you want.
Yeah, I think like in terms of the payment, it's probably something that I just need to think about for maybe even 24 hours. If you can maybe send me like an email with the information, I can take a look at it and just go over that.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, money aside, though, do you feel like this would be the answer for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Why is that?
I think so. I think like the coaching calls and just the accountability is essentially like what I'm looking for when I was looking into this. But it's just that.
What is it about? Like, what is it about the like the accountability that you feel like would be, I guess, like beneficial to you?
Just having someone there to like watch my calls.
Okay.
And like give me feedback. And, just
feedback.
Like the fact that I haven't done in the past, I think that's going to be like a crucial step for me getting better.
Okay. Like so you said feedback. Like what do you mean specifically?
Kind of like just tips. So someone watching my calls to go with like my objection handling and figuring out like what I'm doing wrong and like what can I improve. So just having that accountability and just someone to jump on calls with, and like that feedback is going to be crucial.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. Is there anything else that you feel like is kind of the key to the castle to you actually being able to kind of get the result that you want?
I think just learning from someone who is doing this stuff all the time is probably the best thing you can do, right? And I haven't ever done that before.
Why not?
So
why not? Like, why haven't you done that before?
I am not used to like a lot of on trainings. I think like in Ireland, nobody does that. None of my friends like invest in mentors or coaches and things like that. So it's not the norm at all. So
Oh, it's called the top 1% for a reason, right? You know what I mean? The 99% don't do it. But I guess like, I guess what are some ways that we can come up with the funding to where you can get that accountability, that coaching, and actually, just like start getting that help you need so that you can get to where you want to go?
I think it's not like getting the funding. It's more kind of like just figuring out about like moving some money around, and it's probably more just like drawing the line in the sand. And
okay. Well, is it the upfront amount, or if we broke it up, like, or does the upfront amount, is that fine, or if we broke it up, like, would that make it easier for you?
No, the upfront amount is fine. It's more of a kind of, I think it's more my fear of actually doing that because I haven't done it before,
Okay, well, I mean, you've never done anything before until you've done it, right? So, like, the one-time payment of $10,000, that works within your current budget?
Should do, yeah.
Should do, or it does?
It does, yeah, it does.
Okay, all right. So, if it works in your current budget and it gives you the accountability and everything you need, like, how do you want to proceed from here? So, guys, like, I know that I haven't handled all the objections. Like, I don't care because I've handled money, and now you can just give me more, right? So now, like, go into partner or some shit, right? Because now I've got the money. It's fine. Like, I don't need to handle everything. I just have to handle one at a time. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, like, if it works, yada yada yada. Like, how do you want to proceed from here?
Yeah, if you can send me like an email with the information, I'll sit down with my partner and we can kind of just take a look at, everything together. Because I think, like, especially with this being like such a big decision, like it's a pretty big life decision for me, but also like for her, and we tend to make decisions together when it's
for sure, man. Like, if your partner was on the call and she had all the context and understood everything, like, is she a salesperson? No. Yes. No. Okay.
She works in a grocery.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. I don't know if there's any like working in grocery mentorship programs, but maybe she has some context. So, I guess like if she was on the call and she had all the context, like, do you feel like she'd be on board?
I think she would. I think she would.
Why is that?
Because I think she see how hard that I'm working, and I'm doing this like I'm doing like pretty decently, but
okay.
It would probably take a lot of time and a lot of stress to just have someone that's already there, guiding me through and helping me as well.
Okay. What do you feel like she might be most apprehensive about?
I don't know if it's like apprehension. It's just more of a thing where I'm like, I'm going to spend $10,000. You cool with that?
Okay. Is $10,000 a lot of money?
I think it's a lot of money. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it isn't. If I'm going to be like, as we spoke about, making more money, making more term commissions.
Well, I mean, you can't. All you can do is do what you can do to get the skills, right? But it's really a question of how much longer you want it to be a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? But like, I suppose, like, like what happens if you get the email? It's all worded beautifully. You sit down with her and you're like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I think is best for my career, and it's the education that I need. It's $10,000, and she's like, nah, I don't think so. Like, what happens then?
Oh, I'd definitely do it anyway. Like, I would. I think
you're gonna go sleep on the couch. You're gonna be.
I think she'd
sleep on the couch.
I think yeah.
Right.
I think I do anyway because it's my decision to make, but it's just more out of like a respect thing, or like, hey, I'd spend $10,000.
Yeah, for sure, man.
What I'm gonna
like,
do.
listen, I don't want anyone to be like, going against a covenant, right? You know what I mean? And I certainly don't want you sleeping on the couch. But ultimately, all we can do is make decisions that we think put ourselves in the best position possible, right? So, like, do you feel like what I put together puts you in the best position to be able to actually achieve your outcome?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely,
and
100%.
All right, cool. And you're going to move forward whether your partner says yes or no.
Yeah. Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's kind of two ways that this can usually go down, right? There's one way where you go to your partner and say, hey, sweetie, there's this thing I kind of sort of maybe want to do, you know, and then you sort of, I don't know if you're looking for permission or if you're looking for an FYI, you know what I mean? But you can go that way. Or you can say, hey, sweetie, there's this thing that I'm doing. This is the best thing for me, my career, and for our family moving forward. This is what I've committed to do. But obviously, I respect our partnership. And so I want to inform you of what I'm doing, right? Which one do you think kind of puts you in a better stead to actually get the outcome?
I think the last approach would get the best reaction.
Okay, so generally speaking, for that, like, you know, that's someone who's made a commitment, right? And so what we would usually do is go ahead and take the payment, okay, and actually commit to doing the program. And then from there, like, listen, if you go to your partner, she's a total fucking meltdown, right? Like, I don't want you sleeping on the couch, right? You know what I mean? And then we can work something out. But if she does that, then like, listen, mate, like, I don't want people to be in the program who don't want to be in the program, right? So we can go ahead and organize a refund. But if you feel like that's the best way to get this outcome, like, how do you want to proceed from here?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely makes me feel a bit more secure. You know, if she does throw me out of the house, which I'm sure she won't, gives me something to fall back on. So can I do that with PayPal? Do you guys do like Stripe or PayPal or what?
No, it's Diner's card only, unfortunately. We only do Diners. Sweet. So thanks, man. So he took that a slightly different way, right? You know what I mean? But the sort of concepts are relatively the same, right? So the way that went was like he was early. He's like, no, I'm going to do it anyway, right? Which you get a decent chunk of the time, right? But you got to probe your way there and actually get the answer. And then from there, it's like, okay, cool. So he gave a money objection, but he had the money, right? Gave a partner objection, but he was going to overcome it. So I just need to do that in a nice little order. And then from there, I give him an option at the end. It's like, hey, there's two ways that this can go when you're going to go to your partner. Because I still assumed he was going to go to his partner and just say, well, if you don't need to talk to her, how do you want to proceed from here? I wanted to add just like an extra layer of certainty to that. So it's like, you can do it this way. Hey, I kind of sort of maybe want to do this thing that I think might be good for my business. So it's like just a folly of, so it sounds like it's super weak, right? You know, it's like, right? Or you can say, hey, this thing that I'm doing that is best for me and my family, you know, that's sort of best for us. It's the best decision that I can make. You know what I mean? And like this, I'm just informing you. Okay. And then from there, it's like, okay, so which one works better? Okay, well, you have to do this. You know what I mean? And so like it's taking it down that route, but it's relatively similar. It's just sort of like a slightly different way of doing it. You know what I mean? Based on the answer that he gave me. But I would do that. Like that's the way that I do that. You know, it's the same every time if someone gives me those answers, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So as you can see, like, you know, we cut some of it out because like I could, right? So I don't need to do the whole thing if I don't have to, but I still got high levels of certainty along the entire way. I'm just gonna de-pin you, Adam. I appreciate it, buddy. Okay. So everyone kind of clear on that. It's a relatively straightforward process. The key is like, I wasn't weird. Okay. I didn't mince words. I didn't go, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that like, you know, if you were to go to your partner and you like, it's just this like recapping and justification of your own existence, right? It, like that does not breed certainty, you know? And so for me as a sales rep, when I'm taking someone through objection handling, I need to have a high level of certainty. Okay. But I need to be curious. Okay, so I'm curious about what they're saying, which curious doesn't have there's no intention behind curiosity. Skepticism has an intention. Okay, that makes sense. Like questioning and questions are very different. Okay, like I can ask you a question that makes it seem like I don't believe you, or I can ask you a question that just makes me want to have the answer. Okay, right? So you have to sort of understand how those two things come across. And then, you know, you just take them through a nice natural. If you noticed, I interrupted, like I stopped him a fair bit, but I stopped him by asking him about what he was saying. Okay, which is interjecting, and it's not rude, but it's how you keep the conversations on point. Right? As soon as I said, hey, do you feel like this with the answer? He said yes, and by the time the S was coming out, I said, why is that? because I don't care about what is said after that. Right? It's like, why is that? And they're gonna go, oh, well, this, right? Like, so I'm just directing them where I want them to go. Right? Like he said, yes, that's a positive. I want detail. Why is that? Okay. Now he's gonna have to go and go, oh, okay, right? No, it doesn't feel like you're cutting them off because it's only cutting them off. Okay, this is where the big difference is. It's cutting them off if you redirect to talk about something you want to talk about. Right? Like that's the biggest difference. So if you go anyway, okay, but all I'm doing is asking them about the thing they just said, which is never going to be, or very rarely will that be, very, very rarely will that be considered cutting someone off. Right? Interrupting people is rude. Interjecting is not rude. Right? And there's a huge difference between the two. I can count on one hand the amount of times that someone's gone, hey, you're like talking over the top of me in a sales call. Because I'm like, oh, hey, sorry, you said this. Like, what did you mean? That is so, like, that's just good conversation. Right? And it's like, yeah, I think it would. Why is that? Okay, again, I'm asking about what you just said. If I go, anyway, so, and which is what I hear in sales calls a lot, where they're going along a path and you have no idea how to redirect them. So you go, anyway, and then you cut back. It's like, oh, you didn't want to hear what I had to say. I get it. Okay? That is very important, yeah. Okay? Okay. What's going on? Okay. All right, let's go through some questions. I hope that was clear as mud. We'll go with Clifford Chung.
Yeah, what's up? Usually I use the NEPQ kind of like process, like post pitch. We always ask like, do you feel like this is gonna be the answer for you? Then we ask like, why is that? So I feel like if I already have the answer there, when it comes to objection handling post money drop, I feel like sometimes when I say like, okay, but money aside just for a second, like, do you feel like this could be answer for you? I feel like I'm kind of doubling the same questions, and sometimes clients are like, well, you kind of asked me that question.
Just say it a different way.
Different way.
Yeah. What is it about?
Okay,
it?
so
You know what I mean? Hey, money aside though, like, is there anything specific that you've seen that you're like, like that's the thing I need?
Okay.
Just say it a different way.
Different way. Okay, cool. Makes sense.
Yeah. It's flexibility. Like, you know what I mean? You just,
okay, so
you got to keep looping around. You can be asked the same question 100 times, right? You just got to get the answer. Like, and it's the people that can't do that don't get the answers they need. Right? So you got to have ways of doing that. It's like, it's a skill set. You can't script it. It's a skill, right? Like you have to work on it, and you have to work on developing a way of like going, I need to like be able to ask this question 15 different ways off the top of my head. Right? Because it just doesn't matter how you are, like it's getting to the answer that matters. Right? And you need to reestablish that. Otherwise you're going to be going through and going like, money aside, do you want to do it?
Daddy.
Yes, my love.
You talk just blue.
What? Not right now. No, I'm talking to 100 people. I mean, I like you guys way more, but can you ask mommy to do it? Thank
She's
you.
asleep.
Well, you know, sometimes you got to wake up to blow balloons up.
Okay.
It's the way it is. It does. All right, cool. Yeah, just mate, it's just like it's a practice thing.
Okay, but I feel like if we already have the answer before,
well, then you can just go money aside. Do you want to do it? And you can roll the dice and see how that goes for you. I don't reckon it's going to go well, but you should definitely try it and let me know. Right?
Yeah. Okay. That's what I do. Like,
yeah,
money aside, they want to be part of the program, and that's what I. Okay, cool.
But it's just like, to me, that's like to me that like it's gonna get real combative real quick, right? Depending on the person, but like you're not not able to inch your way forward very well doing it that way. and you're asking definitive questions about like, I'm never asking them to be in the program. I'm asking if they see value, if they like it, if the budget works theoretically within their concerns. I'm never saying, that's why I said, how do you want to proceed from here? I don't say, so do you want to do it? I say, how do you want to proceed from here? Because then they can give me another objection. If I finish with, so do you want to do it? Or which payment plan do you want? Then they can say like quite definitive no statements, right? And it's very difficult to maintain a coherent and pleasant conversation when you're arguing with somebody. But because I'm never asking for definitives, I'm not going like, hey, this is a Visa or MasterCard. Because option closes work on stupid people and laydowns.
Yeah.
Right? That's where they work. They work on people who are going to buy and dumb people. Like that's like literally, I'm not even being funny. You know what I mean? And so like just open questions. Hey, why is that? Oh, okay, cool. So like I've done objection handling for 2 hours. You know what I mean? And it's the same questions over and over again, asked in different ways. You know? And again, like if you ask it in different ways and if you use different dynamics in the voice and if you use in different inflections and stuff like that, like you can ask it with the same words and they're not going to pick up that it's the same word. Right? All right, Jeremiah.
Hey, Matt. So at one point you mentioned there were like five sections under the question. What will you do if your partner says no? I just wanted to know what those 5 points were that you worked through. I think you said specificity was one.
Oh, no. So no, I said you got to have like 4 to 5 different ways of asking that same question, right? So, and you want to escalate it, right? So it's like, hey, what happens if your partner says no? Okay, well, what happens if your wife comes home tonight, she's in a bad mood, you ask her and she's like, nah, I don't think so, right? You know, like, okay, well, like what happens, you know, like, what do you do? Okay, because now I've said what happens. So it's like, so what do you do if, you know, your wife is just in a really bad mood, Becky's been a bitch at work, and she's like, no, I have no interest in this, I want to buy a Birkin bag. What happens then? Okay, so as you can see, it's the same answer. It's the same question over and over again, asked in just very different ways, because if I don't get the answer, like, it's just not a good thing for me. Okay, make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep, thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Alrighty, let's go with Sean and G.
All right. Thank you very much, Matt. Got a weird question with kind of, so I sell a non-ROI offer. So I sell cosmetic surgeries, hair transplants, facelifts, whatever, health-wise. So regarding the partner objection, how would you go about if they're concerned about health-wise? I sometimes like to flip it and say, oh, what if your partner wants to go through this and they gave you this and this, but it never really works out well. How we go about that way specifically?
The principles are always the same. I can't tell you how to like sit here and script it out. You got to work through the principles, right? And then from there, like you have to figure out the way to script it correctly. I'd have to ask you like 45 questions. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
and like that's not going to happen on this environment. So like, you know, but the principles are the same, and then you just insert things, right? And then that may work perfectly. You may have to make adjustments. You know what I mean? Like it's an academic pursuit. There is no correct way of doing this, right? There is no correct. There is just what works. And that will be a slightly different variant for every person and every offer. But there are principles that you can follow that make sense. And what I'm teaching is the principles.
Okay, makes sense.
Right?
I get that. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yaya? Don't know how to say your name. Yeah? Yeah.
So, yeah, in the role play, I think you said something like, all we can do is put ourselves in the best position and all we can do is get the skill. What was your thought process behind saying that, and what goes on in the prospect's mind?
Well, I couldn't tell you about the prospect's mind, but I can tell you what my thought process was. One, I don't like guaranteeing money. I never do that, right? So he said, like, you know, like you said, you know, I need to get the money. I go, well, I can't guarantee the money. You just get the skill set, right? Because I'm not making a sale based off some bullshit guarantee. That was basically that. And the other one was, all you can do is put yourself in the best position. When I go into my, like, I guess you'd probably call it a fear or like I've non-logistical objections. Once I finish that, that is the set point of all of my objection handling. Once I get past all the logistics, is all you can do is put yourself in the best position to be able to achieve the outcome. That's like my set point position, and then it's variants of that for like as long as you need to. But that's always my reset question, right? And it's asked in different ways, right? So like, and then it escalates into like, so what it needs to do, like what are the tangible action points that you need to do as the leader of the business, whatever, right? In order to make sure that when you go to bed tonight, you're doing everything you can to achieve XYZ, right? Like that's like hyper definitive. It's like the end of it, maybe after like 4, 5, 6 iterations of that. But that it's essentially the same question, just with a much more pointy set of qualifiers.
Right. But you start off super simple, right? Like what can you do to get the outcomes that you want? That's it, right?
Yeah, like what do you need to do? Like all you can do is put yourself in a position to be able to win. That's all you can do. You can't guarantee a win. You can all die today. Yeah, right. So like there's no guarantees. All right. Ron.
Hey Matt, thanks for this. Just curious, is there like a skill stack for this in terms of like practicing data lake? Because it's awesome, but it does feel a little bit like drinking from a fire hose. So I'm just wondering if like, hey, should I just practice interjecting in normal conversations with people from day to day? Like, do you have like any kind of, is there a way that I can get reps in that you would recommend in day-to-day life that will help stack this? Of course, I don't want to go and get arguments at McDonald's with people to overcome why there wasn't cheese on my cheeseburger.
You could though.
But maybe that'd be
yeah. It's actually it's an interesting question. I think the best thing you can do is understand the theory, right? Because the execution of it is like you can screw like if the execution is bad, it's an easy fix. But if if the decision making is bad, it's a difficult fix, right? So what I would do is I would focus on understanding like the process, right? And then don't worry too much about executing each particular one perfectly. You know what I mean? Just like give yourself a learning curve because there just is one. Like you don't go into the gym, put 300 pounds on a bench press and then go, God damn it. You know what I mean? It's like you would give yourself a break and you would escalate that up. So I think, go theory first, have an understanding of it, practice it before you start doing it. Like you wouldn't learn a new squat and then put your max on. Like that would be weird, right? So it's like, just practice it. And then like when you're doing, like listen to your best calls and when you've executed really well, and then listen to that more than what you listen to the mistakes. Because there's always mistakes, right? But when you have like a good, that was really tight, listen to it over and over and over and over and over again and kind of imprint that on yourself. And I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. And then work on one component at a time. Like there's a great book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things. And the premise is basically like someone who becomes really good at something, the unique ability that they usually have is that they can see 10 things that are wrong and only fix one. Right? That takes a tremendous amount of discipline because like it's very easy to, I could give you guys, I could hear a call recording and I could spend an hour on the first 3 minutes. It's like, but is there any level of tangible takeaway you can take from that? No. You know what I mean? But if you sound like a robot, let's probably fix that. You know what I mean? So, like just small and then allow yourself to be a human who learns.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, Lucio.
Hey man, thanks for the space here. I had 3 small questions.
I've only got time for one, so pick your best one.
Okay. So what if they give you like a knee answer? So it's like you ask them, hey, so what if your spouse doesn't want to do this, and they tell you, so I would have to really think about it.
It's the same thing. That's not an answer. I'd have to really think about it. What do you mean? Like it's the exact same. It's just not an answer, right? So like it doesn't. If the answer has to be, I do it or I don't, right?
So just reframe like
either one is fine. right? If they say I'm not going to move forward, if my partner isn't on board, I would probe to make sure that's, a real thing. I would do that probably heavy as the head that wears the crown thing. And then from there, if I'm like, they agree it's not really fair, whatever it is, be like, no, like I'm not moving forward at her. Like, okay, cool. Is she there? Right? Be like, let's go on the phone call, right? So it's a yes or a no answer. There is no other answer. So I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep giving them different variants of that. And I'm going to keep going through. It's like, well, I have to really think about it. Yeah. Okay. What if she was really pissed off though? And she was like, no. What happens then? Like you have to keep going with it. All right. All right, Zach.
Hey, how does this like the objection handling process change for a B2B offer?
So I sort of mentioned that at the top, but it depends on what the B2B offer is. If it's like a true B2B where you're not talking to decision makers, right? Like department heads, boards, stuff like that, then like it's essentially a giant follow-up game, right?
Yeah.
But you're like, you can do some of the same things, right? But you have to figure out a lot of objection handling in B2B is really more not objection handling, it's objection prevention, right? Which like it's not even that, but it's understanding the landscape that you're in, right? And then if it's corporate, then you're creating corporate advocates. And so you can do the same thing. And it's like, yeah, okay, money aside, you feel like this would actually work for you. Yeah, okay, sweet. You mind telling why? Because you're going to get them, but it's not going to end in like some fucking mindset reframe where you're doing that. Now, if you're selling a $10 million CEO business owner, it's no different. Like that sort of B2B where it's really not, you're talking to the guy, right? Just smash him like everyone else. Do you know what I mean? And maybe use like, depending on the person, you could use like a more dialed in language, you know what I mean? And be more precise that way. But there isn't, it's sort of that enterprise level, it changes, but everything below that, it really doesn't. And then from there, you got to understand like what you sell. Like in selling a software, like I'm not objection handling someone that aggressively, because like there are logistical barriers and there is sign off that's needed from multiple people. So like I'm really doing a lot more exploring. I'm doing a lot more in problem awareness, right? My pitch is going to be far more comprehensive, right? And it's like, but I'm very rarely going to get like money objections, because like we've established that quite early in the piece. Like we have a budget, you know what I mean? So like no one's going to go, oh, I'd love to do it, but we don't have the money. It might be like, okay, this is the next, and then you can try and pull money in, right? And you can do a lot of the same sort of stuff, but you're trying to pull money in. So it's just very different. It's actually significantly easier in B2B. B2B sales is way easier than B2C in terms of like the skill set on the phone, but it requires a much more professional sales rep, because like if you don't follow up, if you're not on top of your CRM, like then you're worthless. Do you know what I mean? I don't know that answers I know it doesn't sort of answer your question exactly, but it's sort of the way that it is. Hey guys, I have to go. I have a sales call. I'm 3 minutes over. All right. All right, guys, I got to run. Good shit. Just pop your questions in the group or whatever it is, and I'll try and answer it. All right, bye.